Hi folks, Julia here, and today I want to show you what I discovered about coloring with Inktense pencils, because it took me a while to get used to them. I'm using a new clear stamp set by Steiner Designs that's called How Are You, and it has these wonderful cute sheep and a really adorable little bunny that's just lying on his back, and I imagined maybe he's daydreaming. So I'm stamping him with archival black ink on some watercolor-friendly cardstock. Archival black ink doesn't bleed when you color over it with water. That's why I'm using it. And I'm masking off the bunny here. I fuzzy cut the mask because now I'm stamping some grass from another stamp set by Steiner Designs. It's all listed in the video description below. And when I peel off the mask, the magic happens. It's so awesome. You peel it off and now it looks as if the grass is behind the bunny. I just love it. It's so easy and the effect is fantastic. Here are the colors I'm going to be using for the bunny. You can pause the video and write them down if you like. And I practiced this about 20 times. It really took me about 20 tries to get the right color combinations. So I like these best. I'm going to be talking a little bit about what I'm doing before I speed this up, so I hope you bear with me. I'm starting out by using my lightest color, and you can also see I put some water on my craft mat so I have easy access to it. And now I'm just tracing around the artist's drawn lines here with the lightest color that I have. I'm using a light hand, I'm not pressing down really hard. And I'm only putting the color down where the shadows will be. So imagine my light source is on the upper right, basically hitting the bunny in the chin, in his mouth, in a good way. And so I'm just putting down this, and now you can see I have a very fine brush here. It's a number 1 or number 2 brush, and I'm using very little water. Don't make your brush wet. This is actually too much water here, at least for my taste. So you just use a damp brush, not a wet brush, and you can see I have a paper towel wrapped around my thumb there to the side, and I'm cleaning off my brush. If I have too much pigment, I clean it off, and then I pick up a little bit of water, come back in, and spread the color out. That's basically what I'm doing. I'm activating the pencil color with water, and then I'm cleaning off the brush so I don't have that much pigment on there anymore. And then I'm spreading the color out with a damp brush. Because I want to make sure that some areas of my bunny will remain highlighted, very, very light, and some areas will be very, very dark, because I believe that if you have a strong contrast, the shadow areas versus the light areas, the image looks more interesting and more lively. So, and Inktense pencils, that means you need to work in layers. It's not like Copics, it's not like Hush Hush, and then you're done. It's not quick. It takes time, but it's also very relaxing. So I encourage you to give it a try if you have these pencils around. And you can also see that I'm always picking up very little water. It's not like a huge amount of water. While this is drying, I'm grabbing my lightest green, this is an apple green, and I'm just tracing the grass here the same as I did with the bunny. I'm tracing underneath the bunny as well. And then I'm using, again, a damp brush, not a super wet brush, to activate the color and to spread this out a bit. I feel using a damp brush gives me more control over it, because if my brush would be really wet, I would just have a glob of water and it would just go everywhere, and I don't like that. I like to be in control. So now that my bunny has dried a bit, I'm using my darkest color, and I'm going into the areas that will be the darkest, so where the shade will be the strongest. And you can see I'm putting down some color here using a very light hand. These pencils are called Inktense, as an intense, for a reason. So you get a lot of color out of this little bit here. I'm activating the color. You can see it right here. And you can see how dark it is immediately. This is very, very dark. And I'm grabbing my lightest color, going on there with a damp brush, picking up some of the color and mixing it in with the very dark one. I find that this gives me it makes it easier for me to blend stuff on future layers. It just makes it easier for me. That's what I found in my 20 practice runs. Again, activating the color here with a damp brush, going onto my lightest color, picking up some color, and then using that to spread this out so I have an even blend into the lighter areas. And that's what I'm doing for the rest of the bunny. I'm going to speed this up now and going to see you on the flip side. Alright, here's the finished coloring. You could even leave it at that. I feel it already looks pretty cute, this Daydreaming bunny here, but I decided I wanted to give it a nice border, an interesting border actually. And for that, you're gonna freestyle it. Now don't freak out. You're not required to draw a straight line. Actually, just have fun and draw a non-straight line. So if your hands are shaking, let them shake, baby. Let them shake, go crazy, shake them intentionally. Just go nuts and enjoy squiggly lines. Because you know what? They look awesome. Doesn't need to be straight all the time. Right? I just thought the frame would be kind of cute, you know, like with the bunny grounding it. And here we go. This is my frame. And now I'm picking up my sentiment. These are 2 words from the Gardesteiner Designs Clear Stamp set. How are you? Picking them up with my acrylic block, and then I realized, the bunny needs a little bit more sky around him. So I'm picking this up with my tiny brush and just putting some of the blue around him to intensify the colors a bit. And I was like, this is going to take me forever and ever, until I finally got smart and realized I don't have to use a #1 brush to create a sky. I could just use a bigger brush. You know, sometimes I have strokes of genius, you know, you have to give me that. So now I'm just grabbing my bigger brush and just smooshing on the blue and having fun with that. That was pretty awesome. And then I'm finally getting back to my sentiment, and since parts of the card were still a little bit damp, I'm using again the archival black ink because that won't bleed if it's wet, and stamping my sentiment smack in the center of the card. And then of course I had to add some sequins by Pretty Pink Posh. I'm using gold, silver, and I think it's clear sparkling sequins, just to give the card some additional interest. And here's a close-up of the bunny and the coloring that I did, and you can see that the lower part of his face is really light in contrast to the shadowy areas of his body, which I like. I like how this turned out. And here's the entire card with the beautiful sequins by Pretty Pink Posh and the sentiment. I hope you liked the card. Leave me a comment or a thumbs up, or even subscribe. Go crazy! Thank you so much for watching. See you again soon. Bye!